This podcast is brought to you by the Senior Techie, a source of information for seniors and others about technology. Before we even turn the mics on today, I was looking through the stack of articles and all the incredibly detailed notes we got from the Senior Techie. And as I was reading, there was this very specific scenario that just kept jumping out at me.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
Well, I think it strikes a profound chord with almost anyone over 55. And, certainly with anyone who has ever stepped into the role of a caregiver for an aging parent. It's that quiet, almost unspoken fear of simply walking down your own hallway, slipping and falling when nobody is around to see it happen.
Oh, man. Yeah, it really is a terrifying thought. And I mean, it's a fear that fundamentally alters how people live in their own homes.
Right. They start avoiding certain rooms or stairs.
Yeah, and the real nightmare, as the Senior Techie points out time and again, isn't necessarily just the physical impact of the fall itself. I mean, a broken bone is awful, but it's the aftermath that really haunts people.
Lying there alone.
Yes. Lying on the floor for hours, maybe even an entire night, in pain, completely unable to reach a phone or call for help. It's arguably one of the single biggest threats to independent living for older adults today.
Spot on. And that is really the core mission of our conversation today on the Senior Techie podcast. We are unpacking a genuinely revolutionary system highlighted in our sources. It's called FallGuard.
FallGuard. Yeah, it's a fascinating piece of tech.
It really is. When you read through the documentation on this, it completely changes the entire paradigm of senior safety. We're talking about a safety net that requires absolutely no buttons to push, no plastic pendants to wear around your neck, and zero monthly subscription fees.
Which is just a massive structural departure from the medical alert industry standard that we've all grown so accustomed to over the last, few decades.
It really is. So whether you're an older adult who wants to maintain your independence without feeling like a patient in your own living room, or you're a family member desperately trying to ensure your parents are safe while you're at work, we are going to break down exactly how this invisible safety net works.
We'll get into the technology, the privacy concerns, and most importantly, how you can actually get it in your home.
Yeah, so to really appreciate the leap forward that FallGuard represents, I feel like we first have to understand why the old legacy solutions are failing so many older adults.
That's a great place to start. For decades, the default answer to senior safety has been that classic medical alert pendant, or more recently, the high-tech smartwatch. But according to the research shared by the Senior Techie, they share a massive, fatal flaw in their design.
Right, because they all rely on human perfection during a moment of sheer panic.
Yeah, they really do.
I mean, they require the person to remember to wear them, to remember to take them off and charge them every single day, to put them back on, and then, during an actual terrifying medical crisis, to have the presence of mind and the physical mobility to reach down and push that button.
Which is asking a lot.
To me, that's like expecting someone in a severe car wreck to also act as their own paramedic.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Imagine being in a crash, and instead of the airbags deploying and the car automatically calling 911, the vehicle expects you to crawl out, diagnose your own injuries, and, operate a two-way radio to call an ambulance. It just doesn't make sense to put the burden of rescue on the person who is currently incapacitated.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it. The burden is entirely misplaced. The Senior Techie notes that for a huge portion of the aging population, the instruction to just push the button is a total fantasy.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and caring for someone with cognitive or motor challenges, you know this firsthand. Think about conditions like dementia, advanced Parkinson's, epilepsy, or severe mobility issues.
Like they physically can't do it.
Right. If someone has a sudden seizure, their muscles lock up. They physically cannot push a button. Or if someone with dementia takes their smartwatch off before getting into the shower and simply forgets to put it back on, that $300 piece of technology is entirely useless.
We're just sitting on the bathroom counter.
Yeah. Even severe hearing loss can make interacting with those two-way speaker pendants incredibly frustrating, leading seniors to just shove them in a drawer.
And I really want to push back on the traditional industry's approach to dignity here, too. Because even for entirely independent, healthy, older adults who don't have cognitive decline, wearing a chunky plastic medical alert pendant can feel deeply stigmatizing.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody wants to wear those.
It broadcasts a visible message of frailty to anyone who sees it. People don't want to wear them because it clashes with their sense of self-worth and independence. So they leave them sitting on the nightstand.
Which defeats the whole purpose.
Right. That makes an invisible, non-wearable ambient system like FallGuard infinitely more appealing.
The psychological friction of the wearable device is a huge barrier to adoption, yes. And FallGuard takes a completely different route to bypass that friction entirely. It's an ambient system.
Meaning it just lives in the room.
Yeah, it sits quietly in the corner of a room. It uses a camera paired with artificial intelligence to actively watch for falls. And if something goes wrong, it instantly and automatically alerts the family's smartphones. There is nothing attached to the senior's body. They don't have to remember a thing. And there is no corporate call center subscription you have to pay for every single month.
Okay, I love the concept, but the moment you say the phrase camera in the room, massive alarm bells start ringing in my head.
I get that a lot.
I mean, if there's a camera actively watching my parents in their home 24/7, how does the artificial intelligence actually know the difference between a dangerous, bone-breaking fall and someone just slowly, deliberately lying down on the living room rug to stretch their back, or maybe just leaning over to pet the dog?
That is the million-dollar question.
And more importantly, what about privacy? Nobody, especially an older adult valuing their independence, wants to feel spied on by a machine.
Those are undoubtedly the most critical questions we need to address. Let's look under the hood at how this AI actually functions, and let's try to do it without getting bogged down in Silicon Valley jargon.
Please.
So the entire system runs on a very small standalone computer. Think of something like a Raspberry Pi, which is a tiny circuit board about the size of a deck of cards, or even just an old repurposed PC.
Oh.
That small computer connects directly to a camera, usually one equipped with night vision capabilities, so it can monitor a dark bedroom or hallway just as effectively as a sunlit living room.
Got it. So we have a small local computer and a night vision camera. But, I mean, a camera's just a dumb lens. What is the AI actually doing with the video feed it's pulling in?
It uses a branch of artificial intelligence called computer vision. Instead of watching the video like a human would, the AI is trained to track what are called key points on the human body.
Key points.
Yeah, specifically, it's looking for the spatial relationship between the head, the shoulders, and the hips. Once it identifies those points, it mathematically draws an invisible bounding box around the person's shape.
Like a square around them.
Yeah. It is not recording a home movie. It is constantly analyzing that geometry in real time.
So if I'm picturing this right, the AI is essentially stripping away all the personal details like the face, the clothes, the furniture, and turning the person into a sort of digital stick figure inside a mathematical box.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. It's purely mapping spatial geometry. Now, to tell the difference between a deliberate stretch and an accidental fall, that mathematical stick figure is evaluated against two main triggers.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is posture, or lay-down detection. The system constantly calculates the angle of the person's torso. It asks, does this geometric shape go from a vertical upright position to a horizontal position?
Okay, that makes sense.
It also runs a timer on what they call a long laydown. This means it notices someone is horizontal on the ground, and more importantly, they are not getting back up after a certain number of minutes.
All right, but I could go from a vertical torso to a horizontal torso just by hopping into bed at the end of the day.
Which brings us to the second and arguably most crucial trigger, and that's vertical velocity.
Vertical velocity, okay.
When the system detects that the person has reached a horizontal posture, it doesn't just instantly trigger an alarm. It instantly looks back at the previous fraction of a second of motion. It analyzes whether there was a sudden, rapid, uncontrolled drop in height.
Oh, I see.
That rapid downward velocity is the mathematical signature that distinguishes a catastrophic fall from you carefully and slowly sliding onto the sofa to watch television.
I have to ask a clarifying question here, though, because I can already hear the caregivers listening worrying about false alarms.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm standing in the kitchen, I drop my car keys, and I quickly bend down at the waist to snatch them off the floor. I've gone down fast. Is this AI going to panic, think I've collapsed, and send emergency text messages to my kids while they're in a meeting at work?
It's a very common concern, but the algorithm has been highly tuned through continuous updates, specifically to prevent that kind of alert fatigue.
Okay, so it knows the difference.
Yeah, it has learned to differentiate between the physical mechanics of a quick, controlled bend at the waist where your feet stay planted and your hips act as a hinge, and a dangerous, uncontrolled vertical drop of the entire body's center of mass.
Wow, that's incredibly smart.
The senior techie notes that when you first set the system up in your home, you are actually encouraged to test it. You can perform safe, controlled falls onto a soft surface, like pulling a mattress onto the floor, so you can see firsthand how the system behaves and how effectively it filters out normal daily movements.
That testing phase sounds absolutely crucial for peace of mind. But let's get back to the elephant in the room, privacy. If it's drawing mathematical boxes around my hips and shoulders, where is that math happening? Because it's a live video feed of my bedroom is getting beamed to a cloud server somewhere to be processed. That's a massive privacy red flag.
This is where the architectural design of FallGuard is truly brilliant. The senior techie emphasizes heavily that all the video processing happens strictly on device.
On device.
Yes. That little deck of card-sized computer sitting right there in the room is doing all the heavy mathematical lifting locally. The video feed is never recorded, it is never stored on a hard drive, and most importantly, the video is never uploaded to the internet.
So it's kind of like a bouncer at an exclusive club. The bouncer checks your ID at the door to make sure you're allowed in, but he doesn't take a photocopy of your driver's license to keep for his records.
That's a fun way to put it, yeah.
The video enters the computer, it gets checked for a fall, and then that visual data is immediately discarded.
You nailed it. The video data ceases to exist the millisecond after it's analyzed. The only time the system ever reaches out to the internet is if a fall is actually detected. Okay. And even then, it doesn't send a video clip. It just relies on secure Google Cloud infrastructure to send a tiny text packet, basically a push notification, that pings the caregiver's smartphone with an alert. Because no video leaves the room, your privacy is entirely protected.
That is a massive relief and honestly a brilliant use of edge computing. Okay, so we have this highly sophisticated 24/7 AI monitoring system. It preserves privacy, it eliminates the need for wearables, and it actually works.
It really does.
The natural question for anyone listening is, what is the catch? Usually, healthcare technology like this comes with a massive corporate price tag. We're typically talking thousands of dollars for proprietary hardware installation and hefty monthly call center fees.
Prepare to be entirely surprised because FallGuard isn't a proprietary product from some giant Silicon Valley tech conglomerate. It is actually a student-led public benefit project.
Wait, a student project?
Yeah.
You mean a teenager built an AI system that outperforms billion-dollar medical alert companies? How is that even possible?
It's a fascinating reflection of how democratized AI has become. It was created by a 13-year-old named Kevin Tang.
13, wow.
He built the original version of this system after his own grandmother suffered a terrible fall. He looked at the existing medical alerts, saw the exact flaws we just discussed, and realized that with today's open-source AI models and cheap hardware, he could literally code a better solution in his bedroom.
That is wild.
You don't need a massive server farm anymore. A smart kid with a Raspberry Pi can disrupt an entire industry if they have the right motivation.
That is just incredible. Instead of a faceless corporation trying to monetize senior vulnerability, it's just a kid who loved his grandma and wanted to keep her safe.
And that grassroots origin story dictates exactly how the project operates today. Let's break down the actual cost. If you were to buy the parts and build the hardware from scratch yourself, it costs somewhere between $150 and $250.
That's just for the raw components.
Right. A Raspberry Pi microcomputer is about $100 to $150. A decent night vision webcam is $30 to $50. A micro SD card to hold the software is maybe $5 to $10.
Pretty affordable stuff.
Add in a basic power supply and a cheap mount to stick it to the wall, and you hit that $250 ceiling. But the software itself, the highly tuned AI that Kevin and his volunteer team developed, that costs $0. It is completely open and free.
So when the documentation says it's a free system, what does that actually mean for a family listening to this podcast right now? Because, let's be honest, the word free gets thrown around so much in tech that it almost always hides a subscription trap.
In this case, it means exactly what it sounds like with no hidden tricks. For families who are in need, they truly pay nothing for the hardware.
Really, nothing.
Nothing. The project uses donations to build the devices and ships them out. And because the software is totally free, there are zero ongoing subscription fees. You will never pay a monthly bill to monitor your own parents.
There has to be a catch. The demand for this must be astronomical.
The catch is simply supply chain reality. Because it's a volunteer, student-led operation, they are strictly limited by the physical hardware and funds they have on hand.
Oh, I see.
Currently, there is a waiting list of about 500 families. The entire project stays afloat entirely on direct crowdfunding donations to buy new parts and on generous people donating their unused old computers so they can be repurposed.
Wow. 500 families waiting for that sense of security. It's heartbreaking to think about that anxiety, but also incredibly inspiring that the grassroots demand is there.
It really is.
But let's get practical. If I'm listening to this right now, and my mother's a major fall risk today, waiting behind 500 other people might take months. She could be in danger this afternoon. How can listeners protect their loved ones right now without waiting for a package in the mail?
This is where the senior techie highlights a truly brilliant workaround that is available to anyone listening right now. They call it the DIY bypass.
The DIY bypass.
You can actually convert the unused old hardware sitting in your closet into a fully functioning FallGuard system today.
You mean I can upcycle my own digital clutter, like the stuff gathering dust in my home office, into a life-saving guardian for my parents?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
If you have any computer running Windows 10 or 11 and a basic USB webcam, you have everything you need.
Really? Just a standard laptop?
Yeah. You can even use a spare iOS device, like an old iPhone with a cracked screen or an old iPad that you haven't charged in 3 years.
Okay, walk me through the physical setup. Let's say I drive over to my mom's house this weekend with an old Windows laptop and a webcam. What does it actually look like to set this up in her living room?
First, you identify the high-risk zone in the home. Statistically, this is usually a bedroom, a main hallway connecting the bedroom to the bathroom, or a living room where falls are most frequent.
Makes sense.
You place the laptop or the old iPad on a shelf or high table, so the camera lens has a clear, unobstructed, wide view of the main walking paths. Once it's positioned, you simply connect it to the home's Wi-Fi and download the FallGuard detector app onto that specific device.
Sounds easy enough. I've got the laptop on the bookshelf watching the hallway.
Great.
How does it talk to my personal phone so I know if an emergency happens while I'm at the grocery store?
When you open the FallGuard detector app on that old laptop or iPad, the software generates a unique 6-character pairing code on the screen.
Okay.
Then you take out your own personal smartphone, download the FallGuard companion app, and open it up. You type in that 6-character code, and the two devices pair instantly over the internet. Just like that, you have created a customized 24/7 monitoring system.
I have to say, the secondary benefit to seniors and their families here is just incredible. Not only can you skip the 500-person waitlist entirely and get immediate protection using a laptop you forgot you even owned, but by taking the DIY route, you graciously leave the donated pre-built hardware in the pool for a family on that waitlist who truly has no technology or resources at all.
Yeah.
It's a profound win-win for the community.
It absolutely is. It empowers families to take control of their own safety timeline immediately rather than waiting on a charity's backlog.
So let's slow down for a minute and focus on the human element, because if you're listening to this and you're currently caring for an aging parent, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Definitely.
Whether you build it yourself out of an old iPad or you apply for a free pre-built device, who are the people whose lives are fundamentally changed by this technology?
The senior techie shares several specific real-world scenarios that really paint a vivid picture of the relief this brings. Let's look at the dementia scenario first.
Okay.
Think about a mother with mid-stage dementia. She might have a history of falls, maybe she's even broken a hip before, but her memory condition means she consistently takes off her smartwatch when it bothers her and forgets to put it back on.
And you can't reason with that.
Exactly, you can't. Every time she's out of sight, her family is paralyzed with worry. FallGuard protects her passively. It watches the room without requiring her to remember a single instruction or wear a single device.
That takes a massive psychological burden off her shoulders, preventing her from feeling scolded about forgetting her watch, and it gives her family their sanity back.
Then there are mobility impacting conditions. Consider a senior with advanced Parkinson's disease, where motor control is highly unpredictable and a fall can happen without warning.
Yeah.
Or imagine someone who just came home recovering from major spine surgery. A single bad fall could undo months of delicate healing, and they might not have the flexibility to reach a phone if they go down.
It's terrifying.
It's also life-changing for a wheelchair user with cerebral palsy, who might occasionally slip out of the chair onto the floor and physically be unable to get back up or reach a pull cord.
And what about conditions that cause a sudden total loss of consciousness? We touched on epilepsy earlier.
That is a highly critical use case. For an adult with severe epilepsy, a grand mal seizure completely prevents them from pressing a panic button or reaching into their pocket for a phone.
They're totally helpless.
Right. The camera doesn't need them to ask for help. It sees the sudden vertical drop, registers the lack of recovery, and alerts the caregiver automatically. But There's another beautiful scenario the senior techie highlights regarding couples living together.
Oh, the deaf spouse example. I read that in the notes. Let's really paint that picture for the listener because it's brilliant.
It really highlights the versatility of the system.
Mm.
Imagine an older couple and one spouse is completely deaf. Every night, that spouse takes out their hearing aids to sleep.
Sure.
If their partner gets up at 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom and suffers a severe fall in the hallway, they could cry out for help, but the deaf spouse sleeping just one room away wouldn't hear a thing.
Which is just an awful thought.
But with FallGuard watching the hallway, the deaf spouse can sleep with their smartphone tucked right under their pillow. The moment a fall happens, the phone receives the alert and vibrates intensely, waking them up immediately so they can assist their partner.
It's just brilliant. It provides a highly tailored, invisible safety net for so many unique vulnerabilities that traditional tech ignores. Let's say someone listening recognizes their own family in these stories. They don't have old laptops lying around, and they need the hardware. How do they actually apply for the free device?
The application process is designed to be very straightforward. You go to their website, which is fallguard.net. You'll find a simple web form asking for basic contact info, a short description of the senior's fall risk, and their current living situation.
Like who they live with.
Yeah, for example, are they living entirely alone, with a spouse, or in an independent living wing of a retirement community?
Do you have any tips for making that application process smoother or faster?
Yes. Keep in mind that because this is a volunteer, student-led project, patience is key. You aren't dealing with a massive corporate call center with hundreds of employees.
Right.
To help the student volunteers review your case quickly, write a clear, concise 3 to 4 sentence summary of the senior's medical diagnoses and fall history before you even open the form.
Keep it brief but detailed.
100%. Be very specific about why traditional wearables won't work for your parent. Mention the dementia or the arthritis preventing them from clasping a watch. And of course, they strongly encourage anyone listening who has the financial means to donate old tech or fund a device build. Your donation directly pays for the parts that shorten the line for a vulnerable family.
It really all comes down to something so much deeper than just the circuitry, the cameras, and the AI code. When you synthesize all of the research from our sources today, it's clear that this isn't just about cool technology.
Not at all.
It's about restoring fundamental dignity to older adults who want to age in their own homes, on their own terms, without feeling institutionalized or constantly monitored by a call center. And for the caregivers, the adult children who are stretched so thin, it's about giving back the simple gift of a full night's sleep and the profound peace of mind knowing that if the absolute worst happens, they won't find out hours later. They'll know instantly.
It permanently shifts the burden of asking for help away from the person who is already in a vulnerable, compromised position and places that burden onto the environment around them.
It makes you wonder about the entire future of aging in place. As artificial intelligence technology gets smaller, cheaper, and even more fiercely protective of our privacy through on-device processing, we are moving away from an era where seniors have to actively beg for help.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to look at it.
We are entering an era where the very rooms they live in, the walls around them, can passively look out for them. Think about your own living room right now. How might this invisible ambient technology change the way we design retirement homes or even build our own houses in the next 10 years? It's a fascinating frontier.
It's a profound shift in how we think about the spaces we inhabit and how they care for us.
It certainly is. This podcast was brought to you by The Senior Techie. It's available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. If you'd like to keep up with their newsletters, you can subscribe for free by going to subscribe.theseniortechie.com.